Welcome into Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson in for Dave Bacon. Later on, we're going to be talking with Brad Ward of Brownswire.com. Excited to be talking with him, part of USA Today Sports Media Group. And we'll be joined by Garrett Bush of the Barbershop on 92.3 The Fan here in just a moment. But we start with our top story, and that comes from, again, the Deshaun Watson saga still ongoing to this point. And we start with major news coming out from this, major development, that being the Houston Texans, who were named in the lawsuit as well from Tony Buzbee, have now settled claims with 30 Deshaun Watson accusers. That, according to Amy Dash earlier today, and was confirmed by Tony Buzbee as well as the Texans. And Amy Dash also had this tweet as well as a statement from the Houston Texans saying that they take a clear stand against any form of sexual assault and misconduct, and they claim that they had no knowledge of alleged misconduct. Now, that's important to remember that in the in the story that had come out, it had been alleged that the Texans had not only helped to set up but also handed out the NDAs regarding certain accusers in that case as well. Now, also, Tony Buzbee had his statement that you guys can go ahead and see here on Ian Rappaport's Twitter. And Buzbee went on to say that today, all of the women who have made or intended to make claims against the Houston Texans organization have resolved their claims. The terms of the settlement, to include the amounts paid each, are confidential, and I will have no further comment on the allegation or the Texans' alleged role, other than to say that there is a marked contrast in the way that the Texans address those allegations and the way in which Watson's team has done so. As has previously been reported, only one of the 30 women who has made allegations against the Texans filed a formal lawsuit, excuse me. That particular lawsuit will be dismissed with prejudice as soon as the appropriate settlement paperwork is complete. So in order to break all of this down, we welcome in Garrett Bush of the Barbershop from 92.3 The Fan. And, you know, G. Bush, I look at this as that next in line regarding the Deshaun Watson saga to this point. Obviously, it was a revelation that the Texans were brought into this, but seemingly pretty quickly are trying to find themselves out when it comes to that settlement, these settlements coming down today.
Yeah, the Texans look like they want no parts of it. It looks like what they did is said, look, all right, what is our exposure here? We don't want to be in the limelight. The season's coming up. We're looking around. We got, you know, the Deshaun Watson stuff. He's with another team right now. We got, you know, Davis Mills. We're wanting to move on, and we want to do our stuff right now. And I think one of the things that they don't want to get into at this present moment is dragging this thing out throughout the season. They said, let's go ahead and sit down, figure out what a price is. And it just goes to show you also that sometimes in companies and business, and when you talk about civil law rather than criminal law, in the civil court of public opinion, and the way civil law works, you look at that and say, okay, well, it doesn't really mean I'm admitting guilt here, but as a company, I would like to get this past me. I would like to get this thing over and done with. Now, you know, the question is, will the NFL take a look at this? Will the NFL be taking a look at this from a standpoint of, okay, there were some allegations, you paid a lawsuit, now do we have to dig in a little bit and figure out exactly what culpability did they have with Deshaun Watson, with the NDAs, and did they play a role in it? And the NFL will have to look and see whether or not the Texans are going to have to serve any sort of punishment. But I think one of the things that happened is, and Buzbee kind of says it, you could tell the difference between what it was with the NFL and what it was with Deshaun Watson. NFL owners and organizations do not like to be in the news like this. Deshaun Watson still has 4 cases that are going to, you know, pretty much end up going to trial in the spring, hopefully. So those 4 are still hanging there. But as far as the Texans are concerned, from their point of view, they'll handle the lawsuits in all 30 of the cases. And now they're waiting to figure out what they're going to do with the NFL. But obviously they wanted to get this thing out of the way and does not want to have this thing hanging out over the length of the next couple of weeks right before training camp.
Well, G. Bush, the other side of this as well is that, again, that number of accusers, 30. Because, again, we've seen the 24, obviously, that had been the number for the longest time, or at least as of late, but Watson obviously settled with 20 of those. There's still these 6 that are in limbo. What do you make when it comes to, you know, those 6 that haven't quite filed that lawsuit against Watson to this point when you see that number come in with the 30 accusers that they settled with?
I think what they wanted to do, and this is, and I don't want to speculate. Generally speaking, when you talk about 30 of these individuals, obviously the amounts aren't going to be disclosed. But when you make a settlement this quickly, it shows that it's not a groundbreaking $5, $6, $10 million settlement. You know, they got in front of the thing and says, what can we do to make it go away? Here's the level that we have here. I would say the number that I'm more concerned about, or the number that I would look at, is what the NFL brought to the table in Deshaun Watson's initial hearing with Sue Robinson. They concentrated on 12 individuals. Out of those 12 individuals, they narrowed it down to 5 that they wanted to present. So what that tells me is there's something that was in the story, something that was inconsistent, something that wouldn't make a really good case in terms of finding Deshaun Watson to being liable for whatever's going on that happened in those massage rooms. So then you're at 5. The NFL moved off of one of them, and now it's down to 4. So there's 4 individuals that are still that they did present to Judge Sue Robinson, which still leaves 8 individuals that they found something wrong with their testimony and didn't feel it would present their case in the best light. So I would say when you do settle, and when you do settle with individuals, there's a level of speculation because these terms won't be disclosed. But there's a level of speculation as to how much it is and what type of settlement they received. In my thought process, I look at it in terms of the 4 people that are still left that Deshaun Watson has to account for. And when we're talking about it, accounting for in going to civil court next spring, those 4 individuals have the strongest cases. Those are the people that Busby is really looking to drive the price up. And if Deshaun Watson wanted to settle between now and whenever those trials came about, I think the number that Deshaun is comfortable with settling is very far away from what Busby wants to get for those 4 people that they're going back to trial with, because he thinks he has a much stronger case to get that adjudicated and to win a larger claim.
So that is the latest that we have when it comes to the Deshaun Watson news. Again, always keep it here when it comes to the Sports4CLE for the latest regarding Deshaun Watson daily. But G. Bush, I want to get your take on this because I saw this yesterday. This is courtesy of Around the Horn. And who has a more intense fan base in the state of Ohio?
A lot of Cleveland Browns fans have checked out.
I
wouldn't want to say.
But I believe
I went to college in
fans were
Ohio.
equally checking.
I know a lot of fans of both teams. You know what I'm saying? Browns fans are the most apathetic people that aren't the actual individuals in the stadium I've ever seen.
So yet. I don't know
this.
I introduced you to some of my boys. You say that to them right now, you're going to be getting off the deck.
Do they? Okay, hold on, Kevin. Do they go to games? Do they go to games?
Dog outfits at the games. What are you
Yes, that's my point. Listen to what my point is. The humans at the games in Cleveland are the people that care the absolute most. The amount of humans that care that are not the individuals in the stadium has gone down drastically
So
over
the
the last
Bengals
15
are
years.
bigger in Ohio than the Browns. This is news to me.
No, Bengals fans care
That's
more
a very
about
separate-
what the few
Equal.
scraps they
Same
get.
thing.
That's like
from
Use
the
whatever
Bengals
word you
than I
want.
think the
I never
Browns
thought the
fans do.
Bengals care more than the Browns. I didn't. This was news to me.
Now, G. Bush, that threw me off because Clinton Yates, I like a lot of his stuff and everything like that, but when it comes to this, it just seems like he's very far off when it comes to the more intense fan base. You're taking the Bengals?
My young brother, let me educate you real quick. Come on over to the fireside, the campsite. Let me put my spectacles down. The Bengals, no disrespect to them, but you know when the disrespect comes out, right? When you say no disrespect, or disrespect's coming. The Bengals, talk about apathy. They took a couple years ago, they thought that their owner couldn't even afford an indoor facility. They're talking, these guys have high school level facilities. No disrespect. They got Joe Burrow. They got Jamar Chase. They got a nice offense. They went to the Super Bowl. And when you're talking about on the field, they're doing their thing. But when you come to fan bases, let me educate the young brother real quick. There is a top 5 fan base in this game. The Cleveland Browns are America's team. And I say it all the time. You know why Cleveland Browns are America's team? Because you can go to any bar in this country. You can go to any watering hole. You could be in Texas, Florida, Colorado, Missouri, Arizona. You could go anywhere over this country. And you can look up in the directory, go downtown to wherever your bar is and say, hey, where's the Browns backers around here? Because I want to watch the game. They can say that in multiple countries. I do a live stream after every single game. And by the way, a post-game live stream, and we went 1-31 just a couple years ago. And let me tell you this. There's people from Ireland. There's people from Iceland. There's people from South America. There's people from New Zealand, Australia, all over Africa, all over the Middle East, all over the world that consistently live, breathe, sleep, eat Browns. You could talk Browns 24 hours a day around here. You could just roll the ball out and say, Bernie Kosar, Red Right, look, the fumble. You could just say that and do 4 hours off that, just that in the calls. When you're talking about this fan base, you got to realize the Browns in Cleveland this is where football started. I don't want to, get you on my high horse, but football started in Northeast Ohio. So, yeah, if it went a couple other places and it got hot, that's cool. But last time I checked in Northeast Ohio, my bedroom was right outside the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I used to watch it every single day. So when you're talking about football in Ohio, you got to put some respect on our name. And we do respect the Bengals because they had one of the greatest in Paul Brown. But at the end of the day, the Bengals fans will tell you they ain't as crazy as the Browns fans. They know what it is. They understand that. Y'all can scream who they, but everybody knows that the Cleveland Browns fans, if the Browns ever won, there will be a multiple Super Bowl celebration on 4 or 5 continents, parades up and down the street, and I don't know nobody that can say that in terms of the Cleveland fans and any other team in the NFL. I'm just letting you know, bro. If you want to, call me up. Call G. Bush. He'll tell you what's going on, man.
I'm right there with you, G. Bush. But G. Bush and I, as he puts his spectacles back on, we're going to take a timeout. I'll let him get his breath a little bit. When we come back, Andrew Berry's most savvy move, as well as where the Browns roster ranks in terms of the NFL. Mac Robinson on Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. 33rd team, great website. Again, former general managers that will go ahead and contribute to this website. They went ahead and they put every team's most savvy move this offseason. Cleveland Browns, Amari Cooper deal. They went ahead and they traded for Amari Cooper, getting that #1 wide receiver, only giving up a 5th-round pick and swapping picks in the 6th round to land Amari Cooper this year. And he gives them a bona fide #1 wide receiver going into this season. Now, to break it all down, let's bring in Garrett Bush, G. Bush from the Barbershop on 92.3 The Fan. You guys can check it out on Saturdays from 8 a.m. until noon. And G. Bush, when it comes to that Amari Cooper deal, it really shows what Andrew Berry is able to do when it comes to, feasting on that value when it comes to Amari Cooper.
I think when you talk about Amari Cooper, you're dealing with one of the better receivers in the league. And in terms of what I mean is as a #1 receiver, a guy that's going to be able to get in and out of his breaks, a guy that's going to be able to be a professional receiver, a guy that has great hands, guy has good speed. Amari Cooper has a lot of different things. Amari Cooper is one of the guys that I really think the Cleveland Browns did an excellent job of upgrading that position room. To me, when you look at the production they got from Jarvis Landry and the production that they actually got from Odell Beckham Jr., you have to look and say that basically, Amari Cooper has been the most productive and probably the best receiver that they've had in quite some time. And I know that's kind of hard to say because of the names they had with Jarvis and Odell. But, you know, the quarterback at the time, Baker Mayfield, couldn't seem to connect in a meaningful way to either one of those guys. So when you look at a guy like Amari Cooper and to get it for what they did, obviously, the Cowboys, like CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, they like those guys. But at the end of the day, they felt they needed to get off that $20 million a year and invest back into those two younger guys that they had. I'll tell you what, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and he's a treasure to the Cleveland Browns. And I think it's one of the most underrated moves that nobody talks about. Obviously, when you got Baker Mayfield going out, you got Deshaun Watson coming back in. He gets the richest contract in all of the hoopla surrounding the quarterback position here. Those have been the camp stories and the stories of the offseason. However, the camp story that we'll see pretty soon that will start to pay dividends is you'll notice Amari Cooper. You'll notice him as one of the main targets. And I hope one thing. I hope the Cleveland Browns decide to feed this guy, man. Hey, give me one of those receivers that if it's 3rd and 5 and we need a slant, we need a play, give me a guy that I could throw to 9 out of 10 times. I want the ball to go to him. And right now on this roster, Donovan Peoples-Jones is trying to figure out if he's a number 2 receiver. Anthony Schwartz is a speed guy. We don't know what he is. Maybe he's a gadget guy. Maybe he's a special teams guy. Hopefully he shows us something. And David Bell is a young guy that they have some promise for. But the main guy who we know has played big-time games, who knows he can catch the ball, is on the other side of the field, and that's Amari Cooper. And I want to see him get spoon-fed. I want to see him let him come back to the huddle and tell me he wasn't open. Other than that, he's getting the ball. And that's what I want to see from Deshaun Watson and Jacoby Brissett if he happens to be in the game.
Well, G. Bush, when it comes to adding in Amari Cooper, you know, how do you think that he affects the rest of that offense? Because, again, I know he's that major target that you're kind of looking for, but, you know, I also feel like he opens up the field a little bit more for a David Bell and even a David Njoku at the tight end room.
See, one of the things that really help with a guy like Amari Cooper is when you're talking about running routes, right? Some people run intermediate routes very well. Jarvis Landry was another guy. Jarvis Landry can shake you in a phone booth. That means quick cuts in and out of his breaks, pivot routes, slants, all that good stuff. He can run those routes underneath, and he's a mismatch with linebackers. But when you have a bigger guy like Amari Cooper, who has good speed, has good route running ability, can run the post, can run the quarter, can run the skinny post, he can run the dig, he can go over the middle. He could do a lot of different things. So you just can't sit on him and say, all right, well, we're going to sit at the sticks at 7 yards and play him for that. No, he can run past you. He can go up and high point the ball. He's one of those guys that is good at pretty much everything there is to be good at as a receiver. And so as a guy that I'm looking at opposite of him, what it sets up is when the coverage is rolled to Amari Cooper, now you got guys on the backside that may not be as skilled. See, if you're a 2 or 3 receiver, a number 2 or number 3, that means there's a couple of parts in your game that keep you from being a number 1. Some of that is they don't like going over the middle. Some of it is you're not a precision route runner. Some of it is you don't have good release off the line. So if you got a guy like Anthony Schwartz that can get vertical, now you could just say, backside Anthony Schwartz, you're going to run 3 routes. We're going to have you run a shallow cross. We're going to have you run a slant. We're going to have you run a go and maybe a post, right? So those routes you can perfect. Other than that, we over here front side with Amari Cooper, and then Njoku's going to clear that thing out by running down the seam and being a mismatch on smaller safeties or linebackers. So him being able to run everything helps you because now you could do what you do best in other positions.
Well, and at that point, G. Bush, I mean, that opens the running game for you. I mean, obviously you have a quarterback like Deshaun Watson and, hell, even Jacoby Brissett. You know, that opens up that running game that you have with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
Oh, now, as a defensive end, a former defensive end playing, in college, I hated running quarterbacks because, I used to, if I got a pocket passer back there, if I got a guy who's a statue, we call him Statue of Liberties back there, standing all high and tall and looking at his feet, eyes looking down the field, you ain't running. You're not pulling that ball and keeping it. So I don't even have to cover you. I'm not worried about you on the rollout. I'm not worried about you keeping it on a naked boot. I'm not rolling anything. So when you take off and hand the ball off and you run and stretch to the opposite side, and I'm unblocked, I can go run that down. I could go chase that down. If a running back runs and he cuts it back on his own play, I'm right there to make the tackle because I don't have to have responsibility as a contained guy because I know they got a quarterback that's back there that does not want to run, want no parts of running, and is not a threat. But when you got Deshaun Watson there, you got just look at the 3-4 things that's automatically on the table right now. Quarterback draws on the table. Read option and keep backside is on the table. Naked bootleg is on the table. Rollouts are on the table, right? We're not even talking about the RPO game, right? The RPO game is devastating because it all looks the same. It's run up front, and it could be pass or run. So all these things are just on the board now, and that's if these are called plays. We haven't even started talking about what happens when a play breaks down and he's extending plays. Come on, man. It's devastating. It's tough to stop.
Absolutely right. G. Bush and I, we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to be looking at the future of the Browns backfield and still to come, where the Browns rank in terms of their roster construction. And so fresh and so clean. Mac Robinson here on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. Let's go out to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, and as always, appreciate all of your voicemails. As this caller has a question about the Cleveland Browns draft and the future of the Browns backfield.
Yeah, fellow Cleveland Browns lover. I wanted to know, what do you guys feel about the Browns drafting another running back from Cincinnati, Jerome Ford? Is that an indication that he might replace Kareem Hunt, or he might they're going to cut Demetric Felton, or they might move Demetric Felton to the wide receiver because he has played wide receiver back in college, back in UCLA? What are you guys' thoughts? Thank you so much.
And as always, thank you very much for your voicemail. It's G. Bush. I got to ask you, man, when it comes to this running back room, I know that they added in Jerome Ford. Like he mentioned, they still have Demetric Felton from last year's draft class. You know, what is your outlook when it comes to this running back room? And at that point, what do you do with Kareem Hunt?
Man, it's so crazy, man. I'm just after I'm leaving here, I'm putting a blog up for Locked On Browns podcast, and we were talking about this same very thing right here. The running back room and the running back preview that we talk about is crazy because you have one of the most, I think, prolific backfields in terms of talent that has been seen in a very long time. Make no bones about it. Kareem Hunt is a top 10 running back in this league. I just think people forget how dynamic and good he is because he's sitting behind Nick Chubb. But when you talk about what Kareem Hunt can do, he's rated the number 2 most elusive back in the league, and that statistic is derived from how many people can you make miss on the first contact, how many people can tackle you one-on-one, and how often are you brought down by someone that is trying to tackle you in the open field. And when you look at it, the crazy part about it is Nick Chubb is on that list and Dearness Johnson is on that list. All 3 running backs are on the most elusive running backs list out there by Pro Football Focus. So that just goes to show you not only is Kareem Hunt a guy, but Dearness Johnson, in my opinion, is a 1 to 1A running back. He's another guy that could, at bare minimum, be your third down back or a guy that's splitting carries with a number 1 guy somewhere else. And it's just a testament to what the Browns have done to stockpile this group of talent. Then you get to the Demetric Felton, who is a guy who you can't have enough of those guys. He's a Swiss Army knife. He gives you some play in the special teams. He can catch the ball. He's worked at receiver. He's a running back. If you get down to the nitty-gritty, you need a back. He's a guy that could do a lot of different things, very versatile. And then I've been talking about this guy since they drafted him. Jerome Ford, to me, is a primetime backer. Used to be an Alabama recruit. Go watch that Cincinnati tape. Not only is he going to fit in here in Cleveland, he has some of the traits that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt have. A guy that is not taken down easily. You got to gang tackle him. He looks like he gets stronger as the game goes on and progresses. And by the fourth quarter, he still has enough in the tank to run past you and then hit his head on the goalpost. This guy has some skill set. This guy has some talent. He has some go get him. He can put him up, pick him up, put him down. And so they're going to have a very tough way of figuring out who's going to stay. I think all 5 of those guys make the team. You say, well, where are they getting these roster spots from? I don't think they'll carry as many tight ends this year, and I don't think they'll carry as many fullbacks. I think there may not be a fullback on this roster this year. I know Stefanski likes tight ends and fullbacks, but part of the way you get better as an individual is sometimes you don't have to mask yourself with positions that aren't as impact. If you ask me, give me an impact running back or an impact receiver, I take those 2 positions over a tight end or fullback any day, and I think those guys will make the team.
Man, I got to say, you know how I feel about Johnny Stanton on this roster, man. So that's tough words for me. That's tough words for me. But you know what? I appreciate you keeping it real.
I love him too. But I mean, it's either him or like, I don't know. Like, we'll see, bro. It's a tough choice.
Oh, yeah. It's a tough choice. We'll end up seeing it here coming up soon. But I want to get into this as well. CBS Sports, they ranked their NFL divisions by running back. And they had their top 3. But at number 1, the AFC North, obviously J.K. Dobbins, he's coming back from injury. You still have Joe Mixon in Cincinnati, Najee Harris in Pittsburgh. 2 early round running backs that both are kind of carrying it on their own. And then you have the Browns with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. AFC North coming in at number 1 when it comes to running the football, but that's no shock really when you think about the AFC North. What do you think about the fact that, again, this division, despite the fact that most people talk about the running back not mattering as much, AFC North still leading the pack with the NFC North at 2nd and the AFC South in 3rd?
Now, look, I was about to be upset because I didn't know if that league was alphabetical order. But when I seen Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins, listen, y'all gonna have to use. I don't care if you're trying to make a point. Hey, I need the Browns to be on that first line because the reason why the AFC North is a number 1 overall, division in terms of running backs is because of the Browns. I'm gonna let y'all get away with that. But it's a passing league, right? And to be honest with yourself, you got to pass the ball and be successful at passing the ball so that you can run the football. I think a lot of people think of it as vice versa. Hey, let's run the ball, then we can pass. No. What you need is you need to be able to throw the ball and show people you can complete regular passes, and then that way they have to take that many people out of the box. And it's just a numbers game as far as running the football. You can count. You can either stop the run or you can get destroyed by the run. Either way, it's just about a numbers game because somebody is going to be unblocked. It's about creating an opportunity for you to get to your lanes. Where the Cleveland Browns excel and why the running game is so devastating in the AFC North is this. You look at the quarterbacks is there. If you can run the football and you can run it effectively, you keep Lamar Jackson off the field, you keep Joe Burrow off the field, you keep Deshaun Watson off the field. If you can do that, and you can salt away games, and you up 7 points, 10 points in the fourth quarter, and you got bad weather, inclement weather, it's cold outside, and you could get the ball to one of them running backs, and you know, the other quarterback is on the sidelines doing tick, 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 tick. First down, 31, 2 yards, move the chains. Third down and 6, run for 7 yards, move the chains. Third down and 3, run for 5 yards, move the chains. See, that was even annoying when I just said it right there. Do you know how annoying that is? When you're the quarterback and you seeing that? That's crazy. You're like, oh, I hate Nick Chubb. I hate him. Will somebody tackle him? Nah, that's what the running game is for, is winning when it's cold, winning when it's winning time, and that's the fourth quarter. That's when the running game counts.
G. Bush and I are going to take a timeout. When we come back, fresh drip from the Cleveland Browns, as well as the Browns' best secret from this offseason. Again, Mac Robinson here on Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. And look, there were some rumors. Obviously, we've seen the Cincinnati Bengals now have a new white helmet with these stripes, the new all-white Bengal uniform. And that led to fans questioning, could they go with the white helmets? And that led to some fan designs there, as you can see on Twitter as well, and some edits that we saw online as well. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the brown jersey with the white helmet. Not sure I'm a big fan of that look, but you know, I did see another one with Nick Chubb in that throwback uniform as well. And so, in order to break this down, look, you know I got to bring him in. We got to talk with G. Bush because again, G. Bush, I know you love your fashion. I know you have your stances on this. Your verdict on the white helmet for the Browns.
Listen, I'm taking it. See, first of all, this is so tough, man. By the way, shout out to the Bengals, man. The White Tiger Bengals, like, them helmets is fire. Listen, guys, it's so conservative in Cleveland. It's just so, I mean, we don't want any, we got to have the same jerseys and the same jerseys the Autogram wore before World War II. It's just our classic. How many people don't have a logo on their helmet? Listen, that ain't nothing to be proud of. Like, how many people don't have a shirt on right now? That's not something to be proud of, bro. If you're not skinny, Like, come on, bro. Let's get with the new age, man. Give us something. If you're going to have an alternate, give us something. There's a couple things the Browns could just do. Hey, put the elf in the middle of the field or something, bro. Give us an alternate color. Maybe a gunmetal gray or something, man. Or we can't do black because the Bengals is black and orange. So, but there's other things you could do. I like the white helmet. I like the fact that it gives you a new look. And by the way, shout out to Dogs by Nature. You know what I'm saying? I talked to my man Barry Shook, and he talks about it. It's historical. Back in the day when they wore the 46 jerseys, people don't understand. There was another jersey that they did have, and they did have white helmets. So maybe they could bring those back, but I'm a fan of the white helmets. I like that look right there. I'm going to look anything from freshening it up, versatility, and trust me, I'm a guy that, likes some sort of tradition, but I think you could do tradition, and I think you could do something fresh, a fresh take on tradition, and you could do it nicely. You could do it in a nice, unique way, and plus, guess what? At the end of the day, you're selling merch. It's a new jersey. Put it out there. They'll buy it. I'm just trying to give y'all some marketing ideas. Come on, Cleveland. Come on, Browns.
Now, see, I would say this. I like the white helmet, but I only like it with that drop jersey.
Something else and not too much of a thick stripe, I might like that either. I might like both of those.
Well, and I mean, like you said, Lord knows all the Browns fans are going to be buying those up left and right. But G. Bush, I got to say, in Bleacher Report, I saw this earlier today, and I think that you might be a fan of this one. Every team's best-kept secret. In the Cleveland Browns, they had their best-kept secret as Grant Delpit, safety for the Cleveland Browns, 2020 second-round pick. He missed all of 2020. Came back last year, was recovering from injury. Now it seems like he's coming back from injury, fully rehabbed, and now is taking full advantage of that full entire offseason. And Stefanski said he's been doing really good. He's done a really nice job, and now is really understanding what they're trying to do on the defensive side. And you saw in the second half of the year, him really being able to take advantage of that. So, G. Bush, now that you've seen, Ronnie Harrison test free agency, he gets brought back on a smaller deal. Seems like Grant Delpit's really going to be able to take advantage of that opportunity and a larger role here in 2022.
Grant Delpit is one or two players that I've really been spot shadowing, and I think are going to have that next level jump. One of them is J.O.K., right? I think he's going to be the next guy up. When you talk about the speed and agility, Mac, I was watching some film on this dude, man. And back in the day, you used to have to, engage with a person, punch, lock out, get off a block, and then go chase somebody. He don't even do that. He just runs around the block, and he's so doggone quick and athletic. The tackle and the guards are like, dude, I can't touch him. I was just right next to him, but he teleported. It's like Goku's instant teleport, instant beam transmission. I think he has the potential to be one of those guys. And when I mean one of those guys, for years I saw Troy Polamalu just wreck our life. In the same time period, I saw Ed Reed just come in right after Troy Polamalu. Like, you play the Steelers, and then you got Troy Polamalu, and then the next week you got the Ravens, and then I would see Ed Reed come in and just dominate from that position. These guys, multiple defensive player of the years, and for the Browns, we had nothing to offer. We just had Jason Tresnick and God, oh my goodness, man, it was terrible. But I think right now, you got a guy, first time I can say you got a guy that has that level of talent. When Grant Delpit was a sophomore at the University of LSU, he was the best defensive back in college football. When you look back at that sophomore tape, he had a little injury with his ankle. He took a step back then he came out towards Achilles' heel. But I tell you what, he showed flashes last year. Joe Woods was able to use him off the edge blitzing. I thought you just started to see more of that explosiveness. I thought you started to see some of those ball hawking type tendencies that he has. But I'm going to tell you what, this year, being in Joe Woods' defense 2 years in a row, everybody being back, even some of the substitutions and some of the two deep guys, I think they're going to unleash him this year. I think he's going to have a Pro Bowl type season. And I think he's going to be one of the best young safeties in the game in the NFL because he has that much talent. And they're spot on this one. J.O.K. and my man Grant Delpit are due to have monster breakout years for the Cleveland Browns, and I can't wait to see it.
Now, G. Bush, I got to ask you, too, because, Grant Delpit, he's always been somebody who, he plays closer to the line of scrimmage. You've seen the success from John Johnson in a similar type of role, but at the same time, they don't necessarily have that true, natural, deep safety. What do you think of those guys and kind of balancing, who's playing a little bit deeper in that defensive backfield?
Man, look, I like to, for me, my safeties play aggressive. I like to have, when you got shut down corners, when you got Denzel Ward, I ain't seen Denzel Ward get beat that much deep. When you got Denzel Ward, you don't need Jabril Peppers playing in the muni lot. I like my guys up front. I like to be around the mix. I like my guys that they're athletic enough. If you wanted to play them in the deep third, you could bring them up on a line of scrimmage and act like you coming and turn around and they can haul tail and get back to the middle third because they're that athletic. I like my safeties in the mix. I like them around the box. I like them in the middle of the field. I like to disguise a lot of different things. Cover 2 is fine for me. If you just want to keep everything in front of you and play bend but don't break. But if you want to be an attacking style defense, I'm going to ask my safeties to play man-to-man. I'm going to ask my safeties to be up and run support. I'm going to ask my safeties even to blitz. And I think he could do that. And you kind of foreshadowed something. We're going to see just how aggressive Joe Woods will be in the first part of the season. Because in my opinion, if Deshaun Watson is not playing, Joe Woods needs to play aggressive to the point that he's going to say these games should be won and lost with running the football and playing defense. And that means I need to get after the quarterback, I need to get after people, and we need to take the ball away. So I think they should be able to play a little more active, be a little more aggressive because they do have the defense back. But I'd be anxious to see how Joe Woods calls these games, especially early on in the season if Deshaun Watson isn't there.
Now, G. Bush, we get to this point of the year. Again, we're waiting on training camp, but at the same time, doesn't stop players from posting workout photos or workout videos. And so, you mentioned Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, his linebacker mate in the linebacker room, Jacob Phillips, posted some pictures, him working out, getting ready to go. He obviously missed a large chunk of last year with that torn bicep. So, G. Bush, when you talk about JOK, what do you expect out of Jacob Phillips coming into that linebacker room? Because, last year it was really a toss-up between him and Anthony Walker as to who was going to end up being that green dot in the middle of the field at that middle linebacker spot.
I tell you what, I love his athleticism. Shout out to a guy calls my show all the time. Shout out to Todd and Ward One. You know who Todd is. You know. Todd, Mac, he loves him some Phillips. Jacob Phillips, man, G. Bush, I'm going to tell you the three things that's important is, first of all, but not closely followed by, I'm not going to give all of your lines away, Todd, but you know what I'm going with. But Jacob Phillips is a guy, all jokes aside, elite athleticism from inside. If you're talking about the guy that would be the unicorn that I would put with JOK, it is Phillips, because that kid can run. If you got JOK and Phillips on the field at the same time, wow, you got a punch there, right? But we know what the Browns have in the middle in terms of Anthony Walker and what he brings to the defense as the leader of the defense out there. But when it comes to third down, I love to see Jacob Phillips back out there. He's just been snake bitten. Can't get on the field, and he had the torn bicep last year, and I think it kind of slowed him down, and he was injured the first year. But I think this is a make or break year for him. And then it's so funny because we've been trying to give Taki's position away for 3 years. We've been trying to get him, and he just continues to be like, it's Taki. He just is the right place. He makes tackles, good on special teams, got decent hands when the ball is thrown to him, has some picks, some big plays for the Browns. It's sneaky. The Browns have a decently solid linebacking core. And if they can improve, and all you need is one or two of those guys to step up to really turn it into a good linebacker core. They just need to figure out whether Phillips can be part of that situation, and it's a big-time year for him as well.
G. Bush of the Barbershop on 92.3 The Fan. Listen Saturdays from 8 a.m. until noon. G. Bush, appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for hopping on with me. Always appreciate it.
Yes, of course, and congratulations to you. Big things to you, Mac. I know you're going to go out here and kill it, man. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much, G. Bush. Always appreciate you. And we're going to take a timeout. When we come back, who could potentially be an option for the Cleveland Browns, as well as where the Browns rank in terms of roster, right here on Sports4CLE.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. Earlier, we mentioned the latest running Deshaun Watson. 30 of the potential accusers, were settled with by the Houston Texans. And as of late, we've seen when it comes to the Sue Robinson saga, we're waiting for a ruling from Sue Robinson. Those briefs were due earlier this week, so we're waiting a decision from Sue Robinson. But over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a tide kind of turn towards Deshaun Watson in his favor over the last few weeks. And so in order to talk about that, we bring in Brad Ward of Brownswire.com and USA Today Sports Media Group. Brad, one, thank you for joining me. And two, Brad, have your thoughts changed regarding the thoughts on a potential Watson suspension and a possible length of his suspension going on throughout this saga over the last few weeks?
Yeah, I think they have. I think that if you've been paying attention, that the pendulum has kind of swung back towards Watson a little bit. I think excuse me, I think it's a little bit more realistic that we see him on the field this year. At one point, it really felt like that year was going to be a reality. Now, I think one thing that we all need to be careful of, Mac, and I think you would probably agree with this, is that we need to be careful of where these leaks are coming from, right? Like, I'm sure a lot of some of this momentum is coming from Watson's camp, smartly, right? Like, at this point, they kind of are have the momentum in the court of public opinion. So some of these leaks may be coming from them, but a lot of them from valid sources that seem to feel like the NFL didn't put on such a good case in front of Sue Robinson, who, and you know, Justina Anderson has highlighted this a lot, that the standard of proof may not have been met there. So at least there is some reason for optimism. I think, I actually thought they were going to settle, to be honest, Mac. I thought both sides would probably try to cut their losses, because I think the outcomes there's a wide range of outcomes from Sue Robinson. Nobody really knows. She's kind of a wild card at this point, right? Like what she could come down with. And I thought that both sides would feel that way and be like, hey, let's come in between somewhere like 8 games and both of us save our chances of looking silly here with egg on our face when this is all done. That's not the case. She's going to come down with the ruling, at least yet. So far, it's not the case. I don't think it will be at this point. I think they're going to wait for the ruling now. And I think it's very reasonable that he gets like 6 to 8 games at this point. At least that's what it sounds like, right? Being careful, somewhat, cautious of where we're getting our information, right?
Yeah, for sure. And other sources that, and other outlets had been reporting previously, the longer suspensions, obviously, that was coming from Pro Football Talk throughout this process. Now, over the last few weeks, seems like even he has been saying, based on the information that he heard about what was presented to Judge Sue Robinson by the NFL, that now that information is swinging towards Watson. So we're keeping an eye on that as well. But Brad, you had an article on Brownswire as well about a potential replacement for Deshaun Watson if he were to miss the entire season. Now, look, I know you and I have talked about this outside of or off the air, excuse me. So, I want to give you the opportunity to at least mention Jimmy Garoppolo as a potential option for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, my thought is this, right? You have all these guys in their prime years. If he were to get a year, well, the news was this. These are the updates, right? There's an update that Matt Barrows of The Athletic reported that Garoppolo has been throwing for like 3 weeks now. Good sign, right? He had surgery in March. They also reported, it was Albert Breer that reported from Sports Illustrated's Monday Morning Quarterback, reported that they are letting teams talk to Garoppolo's camp that are interested in trading for him, potentially restructuring that contract. Now, remember, he has a $24.2 million number for 22, but that's non-guaranteed money. So certainly he would be willing to restructure that if it meant playing somewhere, potentially getting traded somewhere where he can compete for a job, especially Cleveland if Watson was out for a season, because he would be a hired gun for 1 year. I think they could get that number down significantly, because if he gets released, right, he's not going to see any of that. So the 24.2 non-guaranteed is interesting, and the fact that the Niners are letting teams talk to him is interesting. So that was the update I wrote in the article. But the reason I think this is feasible is because if it is a year, Mac, right, his contract tolls. So his $1 million, base salary this year becomes $1 million base salary in 2023. So suddenly all this concern about rollover cap and managing all of that for flexibility isn't such an issue anymore. And that number doesn't become, it's not untouchable anymore. You can spend some of what would be rollover cap because you're going to have an enormous number of cap space in 2023 with Deshaun Watson, your starting quarterback, only making $1 million in base salary. So I don't want to waste a year of prime Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb, the list goes on, right? And I believe he has a marked improvement over Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett is surely a professional and surely will give the Browns a chance to win if he protects the ball. But Garoppolo, should he be healthy, and they should kick the tires on him first and make sure his arm's okay, has found a way to win. He's worked in this system, and it just seems to make a lot of sense to me because he would want to try to reset his market in the offseason as well.
And I think those are fair points. I'm not going to lie. I didn't consider the cap space for next year if he were to miss the entire season this year. So that's a good point. But I also wanted to get into real quick from CBS Sports. They ranked all 32 teams, the rosters, and they went ahead, ranked all 32. Cleveland Browns sliding in at number 15. And Brad, when I saw this, I kind of raised some eyebrows, at least for me, because I feel like because of the record that you saw last year from the Cleveland Browns and given the disappointment that we saw, I feel like between that and a potential Watson suspension, I feel like that's the reason why this is kind of dropping their value down. Do you agree or no?
No, I totally agree. Yeah, because if you look at like some of the teams under them, they have the Dolphins at 14, Vikings at 13, Broncos at 11, the Ravens at 10. I mean, 15 doesn't seem right, all the way through. The depth on the Browns roster, their defense, running game. I think that a lot of us agree that maybe the wide receiver room could be a little bit more experienced, and certainly the interior defensive line are kind of some weak points. But I think a lot of these teams, the Eagles, do not have top to bottom as good of rosters as the Browns. So I do think they are being punished in this power rankings for potentially not having Watson for half the season. I would have to agree with you on that. That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Brad Ward and I of Brownswire. Brad Ward and I are going to take a timeout. When we come back, should I stay or should I go? We'll get into that coming up next right here on Sports4CLE. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line, a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Welcome back to Sports4CLE. I'm Mac Robinson. Now, I saw this graphic earlier today. A lot of times fans talk about, do I stay and watch the game at home? Do I go to the games? And, you know, I found this graphic interesting because it looked at inflation for the average ticket price back in 2006 compared to the average price in 2021 and how much of a percentage increase it was in that span. Cleveland Browns sitting at number 6, average price of $48.79. Back in 2006 compared to now in 2021, that's just over $100 at $100.52, 106% increase. And given how much that we've seen now at home, whether it be NFL Red Zone, the amount of times that we see replays in different angles, as well as being able to be in the comfort of your own home. It begs the question, do you go to a game and do you go live or do you go ahead and watch it at home? And so, Brad, with it being so much more expensive to go down to the games, where do you kind of weigh in when it comes to this? Because at least for me, I'll stay at home when it comes to watching these games for a better experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that for me, and it may just be a bias of like, I would rather not deal with all those people, maybe. It's not like I dislike people or anything like that, but I just enjoy the game more and feel like I am watching each play more, taking it in better when you get that replay aspect, as you talked about, and you can pay attention to the game more. If you're looking for a really, really good time, certainly the atmosphere and going to the game is fantastic. I did that a lot in my younger days. But at this point, the way that I try to cover the game now and watch the game now, it's just me and the TV and I just kind of zone in and I feel like that's the most enjoyable way for me to watch the game. It's one of probably the most enjoyable 3 hours of my week sometimes, right? So I really enjoy that time. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, the at-home experience is fantastic. With, like you said, with Red Zone and everything going on there. Certainly, when you talk about the prices are interesting, right? You would like to think that ownership would reward the fans for continuing to show up all the years that they were really bad by not inflating the prices that much, right? At the same time, when you look at the overall price, Mac, they're still like 21st in overall price. So I get, but it's not like they've renovated the stadium or anything like that. So really, how are you justifying the inflation, I guess, versus where you look at like Dallas is less expensive than the Browns. The new Chargers stadium, SoFi Stadium, is less expensive than the Browns. And that's with like coastal cost of living and everything out there in LA. So those I thought were strange because Dallas has that spaceship of a stadium, right? And of course you've got the Chargers. Those ones were I thought kind of weird. How are those less expensive than the Browns? You would like to think they would reward the fans with less inflation on the ticket prices, right? Give it a rest. One winning season and how many ever years, right? Like, and they hike the prices up. Not really fair, right? You've been showing up all those years. Let's try to reward the fans for being there all those years and give it a rest on that. Yeah. So I think that I think you can have a great time at the game. I enjoy watching it alone with my TV and zoning in on it, and that's just kind of my thing. But to each his own, right, Mac?
Yeah. And honestly, for me, I like the viewing aspect of being at the game because of the fact that I am not boxed into, whatever view the TV has and that camera has designated. You can be able to kind of look back at some of the deep safeties, everything like that, and get a full scope of the game. But at the same time, like you said, I don't like dealing with going into, the concessions lines. And, they also, there was a report on NFL's fan spending when it comes to stadium concessions, and Browns ranked number 4 in average spending per trip to the stadium there on in-stadium food and drinks, non-alcohol. This is $143, just over $143 mixed in there on in-stadium food and drink. And so, you mix all of that together, and, It has its drawbacks. I would say that. Like everything has its pros and its cons. Obviously, like I mentioned, being there, you get a chance to go ahead and see you get to see the entire field. But, I do find myself avoiding, going to the concession stands during the games because of how long the lines are at times. And on top of it, how much it is for some of the food at that point.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Fighting the lines and all that stuff I can do without, certainly, right? I would say that's an interesting number about the concessions. One thing that you would say that they have done at the stadium over the years, though, right, is they've added a lot more variety, right? Like you have a lot of actual restaurants like from Cleveland in the stadium now. So maybe that has something to do with it, right? I think I was looking before I came on at some of the different options in the stadium, right? And it's pretty interesting. They have a lot of different options as far as restaurants go. So maybe that goes towards that higher cost. But once again, you would like to see them reward the fans with some cost control there, right? You don't want to be fourth on that list.
Yeah, Brad Ward, Brownswire. Check out his stuff as well. Does a great job podcasting as well. Brad, thank you so much for joining me, my friend. Appreciate the time.
Congratulations, Mac. We're going to miss you, brother.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it as always. Thank you so much. And thank you. That's going to go ahead and do it for us today on Sports4CLE. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate Adam and Adrian in the back as well as Dave Bacon, who will be back on Monday. And thank you to you all for tuning in. Again, I've been Mac Robinson here on Sports4CLE. Catch you later. Have a good one, Cleveland.